I think just trying to have an open mind to the direction we're going, but a clear vision as to where. Open mind, clear. And then there's a little bit of old school mixed in with the new school. And so I'm not the 31-year-old coach who's got all these. There's something I have in the back of my mind relative to how I think we need to be successful that never changes, and those are things that I look forward to putting in place.
That was Monday. This is Friday. Here he is, the new head coach of the Denver Broncos. It's going to be hard to get used to that. I typed the other night, Saints coach Sean Payton. That's what feels normal.
I just did a radio clip where, he was like, "Hi, my name's Sean Payton, head coach of the Denver Broncos." Anyway, yeah, I'm close with Bill Parcells, and so Bill had smaller stints at a number of places and was fabulous wherever he went. And in this case, 16 years is quite a long time in our league for one team.
Right, it is.
And 16 good years.
Well, I know it had to be hard for you to walk away, but was it harder to walk away or harder to pick the next destination?
I think harder to walk away. I think I knew it was the right decision. I knew I needed a break, and you start paying attention to things like your health, and people would say all the time, well, you got to look at your schedule. You got to look at there was just a way that I'm used to doing things, and it requires this. For me, it's not for everyone, and so I felt like it was a good time, and it had nothing to do with, well, we no longer have Breeze. I mean, that year was a year and a half before. We played other quarterbacks. It was just time, and I knew I was interested in doing the network stuff. But what's funny is when that begins, and you wake up the next day, you're not in that race that exists, right? You actually leave the racetrack, and
right.
So for the next year, there's this 2-mile racetrack with lights on. You can smell the gasoline, you can hear the cars, and they're all going. And you're still drawn to it, but there's like this. It's different. There's not that same sense of urgency. You're spending more time golfing. You're doing these other things.
Right.
I struggle without the itinerary, really. Like we're so institutionalized with schedule.
Right. You're like, I have free time? What do I do with
and then
this?
I'm not good. And then pretty soon my wife looks at me like, we're not going to do this for the next 300 days, are we? This isn't the current plan, right? And so...
So when does it hit? When did it hit where you were like, I'm itching and okay, I got to get back in that race?
Throughout the season, working Sundays was great. I would say that group,
Howie and Jimmy,
and both groups, I worked with both shows, but the camaraderie and the culture that existed there. We had a dinner last night. We do the Super Bowl. This is my last week. I'm working,
right?
With the Super Bowl, and they've got that figured out. Like I see the things that are important with Eric Shanks and Bill and the producers and then everyone involved in that production is special. But I think I was only getting it Sunday. It was just Sunday, man. My clothes were laid out Saturday. I couldn't wait to be there, 5 a.m. And I'd stay till like the last one in the building, and you got your football fix in the green room. But I think you can have your perfect Sunday, your narrative hits. It might be we're talking about the defense, the score fits.
Right.
Everything you hit on.
Everything I said, it came to fruition.
And then you get in your car and you drive home.
Right.
And it still doesn't replace the feeling of that racetrack when you win.
I know.
And so ultimately it's like, I want to go back. And so, all right, here it is. The first morning after you take that job, you're back on this, like, all right, everyone else 31 other teams are going. I've got to go, and there's a completely different sense of urgency then to your day.
Right.
And like everyone else is going now, and so now we got to hire a staff. We got to do all these things. We're a little bit behind. We've got to, and so I think the biggest motivating factor for any of us and all of us is fear of failure. Like that's pretty powerful.
I hear you. It gets me up every day.
Right?
Right.
How are you juggling it now, though? Because you're 4 days in, but you've still got to take care of business at Fox.
Yeah, that was easy, and we talked about that. I first talked with Eric at Fox. I said, hey, I want to make sure, I don't want to assume that you want me, but maybe you feel like there's, he said, no, absolutely. He said, this year, the fans have been able to get a deeper insight as to, they'd ask me on air, what do you think? And I'd tell them, this is what I think is important. I might do this. And I'm basically in a hotel room here, somewhere in Scottsdale with a laptop. My wife is my assistant because I can accept a Zoom meeting. I have no idea how to initiate one. Right? I mean, seriously,
you know how to send the email out to everybody and do all that. Okay.
I had a bad yesterday. Was Ronald Curry and I were scheduled for this Zoom, and it was 20 minutes delayed. Pretty soon he invited me because it was the only one she wasn't in the room.
Oh, right.
So, a lot of Zoom interviews, coaching staff interviews, all of that, and then. What are the Fox meetings, and so it works easily.
It's
right
like
now.
Regular season, or maybe not even quite as intense. And that's one thing I wanted to bring up to you. I've been carrying this around for years, and we first got to know each other in the aftermath of a certain league matter a decade or so ago. That you and I think, were the only two in the country that were on the same page about that thing, and that's how we kind of got talking, and we've interviewed you many times over the years.
I was on the page too. I just wasn't with you guys to know about it.
Right. Okay. So good. Yeah, he was still playing or coaching. You were in New England,
right?
So you can relate. But anyway, the idea of detail, and we've been talking about this, and we've been singing your praises. I don't know if your ears have been burning, but through this whole process, how you pay attention to detail, and how all the time that's spent watching film, just grinding and grinding. And we were having a conversation on the phone during the 2018 season, and I made that comment to you. I love the fact that you have as much time as you want to spend, as long as you're willing to go without sleep and food and anything else, just looking and searching for any little idea that can make a difference. And something happened after that I have a memento in my barn that is the only priceless thing in there that can't be replaced. I want you to tell that story.
All right, so here's the thing, and I'm going to use a couple quick analogies first. If you get a chance ever to golf at Augusta, that's one of those, or go to Disney.
Right.
When you listen to them talk about the experience, they look at the player experience, the media experience, the fan experience, the sponsor experience, the caddy experience, and then they go about saying, how do we make those 6 groups, how do we make those experiences better than, and they think all the time. It's a constant, all right, you're an attorney. You have a law degree. And let's say the big day is Friday. Man, we are constantly looking at, are we missing anything? Because here's why. We can reference 3 years ago when we found something on Wednesday that helped make a difference in what we were doing. And so when that happens to you as a coach, when you put your plan together, and we're not talking about it never, but I don't like the saying the hay is in the barn. Yeah. It's never in the barn.
Never. There's
until
always
we
something
start.
more.
So
Yeah.
you're looking and
right.
Look, we played the Colts one year, and we had a fake field goal in. I really didn't like how we were blocking it. We made a change Saturday morning. The only problem is it had to be on the right hash, and I thought, well, it has to be on the right hash, and we had like a 3rd and 7, on the 28-yard line, 26-yard line. I remember beeping into Breeze saying, look, you're going to hate me for this call. Just trust me. And we ran a toss play on 3rd and 6, and it put it on the right hash. And Dree's looking at me. I'm like, get ready. You're going back out there. We're running this fake field goal. And we ran the fake field goal. So, but when you notice something later in the week, you apply it in your game, and then you like that field goal was important because it led to a touchdown. And you know what? We won by 6 points in that game.
Yeah, right.
So then there's a certain amount of pressure then to, like, am I missing anything? And so Mike's story was pretty funny. It was later in the week, and we were playing the Vikings Sunday Night Football. I remember it well. We're going to win this game, and it's earlier in the season, and late in the week, and it wasn't Chris, in the cut-ups that we had. It wasn't in the recent season that we had.
Right.
It was like
last year. You were like, let me go see them.
We're going back a year.
Right.
We're watching the Patriots run this play. It was pretty clever. It was an empty set, short motion, turbo motion, catch flip. It's one of your perfect plays for the quarterback because it counts as a forward pass.
Yeah, right. I'm great quarterback rating.
Yeah. And if it's dropped, it's not fumbled, it's incomplete. And I remember seeing it, and they ran it as a 2-point play. They were running it against a different team, not the Vikings.
It was the Bears.
It was the Bears. And so we're just studying a scheme, and I'm like, well, there's some similarities to what we're seeing here. And so we put that in on a Saturday morning as an additional 5 yards in play. You know, I always love when we discuss analytics, and there's only 2 things we talk about: go for it on 4th down or 2-point plays, and it's crazy. There's like 100 other things
that go into that.
Yeah, analytics though. There's 100 other analytic examples, and so sure enough, in that game, and so what I did was I drew the I drew the play, put it in an envelope, and I sent it to him, and I said, "This just remember I sent this to you."
Right.
Now, I'm not forgetting Mike's in a cabin in West Virginia he's on East Coast time, right? And so Sunday Night Football, it gets a little past his bedtime.
Yeah.
And here it is, the first drive, though.
Right.
And we get to a 3rd and 3 at the 3.
Right.
And here's the other thing. When you come up with something that you like and have a conviction for it, like you're opening that present.
Yeah.
And so we talk about 2-point plays. Like, when would I ever, let's say that's a 2-point play also. But, well, if it's my favorite play inside the 3, I'm going to score 6 with it.
Yeah, forget the 2 points.
Forget the 2,
yeah,
right?
Right.
So it's not like we always have a surplus of 2-point plays. Sometimes we utilize a few of them. And so, boom, catch, snap, tuck. Here goes Kamara, touchdown, well blocked, and I'm fired up. But I'm also fired up because I'm like, I called this. I guarantee you Florio saw it.
No, I saw it live. It was when you called me at 2 in the morning.
Yeah, I called.
And I was asleep in a hotel room in Connecticut because we've been working all day at NBC. And I pick up my phone. It says Sean Payton. I said, "Son of, oh, yeah." Well, I guess he used the play.
So, and I remember drawing it, and so when you draw a lot, your font's good. You can, your circles are good. And
good coaches are
so
amazing.
I love that I love that it still sits somewhere.
It's in plastic. It's the centerpiece on a ledge in my barn, and it's always a conversation point when somebody new comes.
Just
I've never talked about it publicly.
The little things that matter, and so
it's great proof of that.
Well, but one quick, just off of that. Like, when was it during the week that you found you had your best ideas? Like, Gruden was early in the morning in peace and quiet. I got coaches a beer late at night. They'd come up with crazy ideas.
Mine always, look, this was me, and right, wrong, or it just was me. Man, Mondays are chaos for the head coach and the team because you're looking at the game film. You got 2 more guys that are hurt that you weren't really sure were hurt. You're bringing in guys for workouts. Mondays, the sky's falling, regardless of if you won or lost. Monday, and then Tuesday, you're on the plan. For me, Wednesdays, Thursdays, evenings, late.
That's when you got to, like, were you sit around with other coaches, or were you by yourself?
It'd come out of the coaching meeting.
Right.
Let's say that ended at midnight,
right.
And then I'd go into my office and then put the film on. I'd burn a few candles and then just start. And then, so later in the week for me, it was just.
So it's relaxed, quiet time at nighttime when all of a sudden you start to go.
But this one in specific, we were on the phone, and I was saying, I do love the fact that you have as much time as you want to spend to look for whatever. You said, "You're making me nervous. I got to go." And then 10 minutes later, you call back and said, "I found something that's going to work."
Right.
And that's where it all came from.
Right. And here's the thing. Everything's efficiency, right? You don't want to have to go far to get a cup of ice, or my problem is I like drinking regular soda, Coke, Pepsi, Mountain Dew.
You get him. He's on this diet crap all the time. Get him off of it.
It could be orange soda, grape soda, and so the candle's burning, a can of Coke on ice, and then you've got just time, and you're looking at it, and so look, the restroom's right around the corner. Everything is near you. And because, once again, I'm going back to the attorneys a week away, they know that they've had late in the week opportunities to find something that matter. And so that weighs on you until you get to the event, and because it matters.
Right.
Russell Wilson, your quarterback now. What's the number one thing you're looking forward to working on him about?
Well, I would say this. First off, when you finish 5-12, and there's dirt on a lot of people's hands, and we focus a lot on the quarterback and the head coach, certainly. But I think there are a few things. We have to improve the run game. That has to be. The special teams were awful. So I'm going to hit on these other things and then get back to Russell. The 2 greatest allies for good quarterback play are good defense and a run game.
Yeah.
how do we take the quarterback off the high dive? If he's up there too often, it's going to be hard to produce. He's going to have to climb up there 6-8 times a game.
Right.
You know, he's going to be 3rd and 8 in a must-have it, you know, and then 2-minute drill. He's going to be goal to go on a 5, you know.
But you don't want to live up there.
No, we don't want to live up there.
That's
No
right.
one does.
Right.
Not even with
the
guys.
greatest Mahomes.
Yeah, that's
right.
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 So then secondly, what are the things that we think he does well? And I think they struggled finding those last year. I'll be honest. I said it on air, and I'm not trying to upset anyone, but our jobs are to figure out what these guys do well and then have them do that. And so I don't like singing, but if I go to a karaoke bar, I want to at least know the words to a song and not try to do something outside my box. So
why don't more coaches do that, though? Because that's good coaching, but it seems like people are stuck to their system and they won't deviate from it.
Look, it's a good question. Those are things you learn from guys like Parcells. You know, so not everyone has the same bloodlines.
Right.
But defensively, if we just play our defense, well, what if this tight end for the Chiefs? All right, Belichick. We played Belichick. Jimmy Graham was rolling one year. It was fantastic. It was 2013.
Right.
We were 5-0. We had just beaten the Bears. We're going to New England. We know it's going to be a tough game.
Right.
And I'm telling you, he put a keep Talib on Graham on every play. And then he took his outside backer to that side and turned and reroute. And so Jimmy Graham had more attention on him. And I know what Bill was thinking. If I can eliminate that option, because there was so much production coming from that player. And so are you willing to do that defensively, or are you just going to play your under and over fronts and play your coverage and then just
die slowly?
Yeah. So the ability on defense to take a player out of the game, there's some defensive coaches in this league that can do it, and there are others that refuse to try. They'll throw the ball and scout team to this guy, and they'll say, this is what we got to do within our – but there's certain things coverage-wise that some guys just aren't familiar with, and so it's the answer to your question. I'm not familiar with it, so I don't want to talk, discuss, or install it. And generally, that's a lack of experience.
What about your year off? Just anything that you're going to change to yourself, like where you self-scout thyself a little bit, where you go, I might want to.
That's a good question. I think the longer you do this, the wiser you get, and you become smart with your battery life. You know, my son's real good at video games, and you're always looking at the battery life.
Yeah.
And so when I first started in 2006. I burned battery life sometimes on things that I realize now that it's not as important.
Right.
Yeah, it's not as important.
Right.
So that's one thing. And then, try to get a half-hour sweat in 3 times a week.
Clear the brain.
Just so you don't die in the office one day with a clicker in your hand and a great idea.
Although, where would you rather die? I mean, really, if you're gonna go, that's the place to go.
You just want to make sure the play's drawn out, because it's like that movie Waking Ned Devine, who won the lottery in Ireland, and he was the old man in the Lazy Boy, and the lottery hit it was like £5 million.
Right.
It was on the TV screen. He won, and he passed away with the lottery ticket in his hand.
Right, of course. Yeah, right.
And so there was a rule. Evidently, if the winner was deceased, it went back into the next week's. So this little town, his 2 buddies found the lottery ticket, and they said, "Well, we're not gonna turn it." So then it was like Waking Ned Devine. That gradually the secret expanded to 28 residents of the town.
Right.
We're going to collect this money and pretend he was alive still.
Yeah.
All right, Zebra Technologies, collecting a little money from them as you do every year, spreading the word about what they do, what's going on.
It's simple. So I don't think a lot of people know this, but for 9 years they've been with the NFL. They just extended an agreement on Wednesday. They're the player tracking system. But let's go back. Every day we go to the store, we swipe our groceries. That barcode is Zebra. That's what they do.
Right.
They're in Walmart. They're in, you name it. They're in every grocery store. Anytime someone's scanning something and giving you a price. So they've begun to put that in the shoulder pads. They started primarily for in-game production content value. How fast is this guy going? 21 miles an hour. My son. So this next-gen stats is Zebra. I began looking at it more for soft tissue injuries. So I can look at data, basically at practice. I can see how far guys are moving.
Right.
If I say I want to reduce a practice, I could say in the old days you'd cut out the time, but you still don't have a tangible way to measure. Receivers 6 miles on an average 2-a-day practice.
Yeah.
Brandon Cooks at 8 miles. Why is that?
Right.
Well, he's doing these other
He's doing
things.
the post routes and some of the.
But all of a sudden, he's got a hamstring issue. So
right.
it's being a little bit more exact.
Right.
The chips in the football now, does it cross the goal line or not? I know this drives you guys crazy.
Come on.
But think about this for a second.
Right.
When you shoot an NBA jump shot,
right,
and it comes off of your hand, and you see the shot clock light the back of the backboard up,
right,
you can tell if it's been shot or not.
Yes.
We can do the very same thing. Just envision a goalpost light that goes off when the ball. And then all I have to do as an official is just look at the knee.
Right.
But now I got to look at where's the ball, where's the knee, where's the ball.
Yeah,
so if I can remove the ball element and see where the knee is, all this stuff, it's 2023.
Yes.
And we're betting on these games.
I know. Well, trust me, we beat it to
all
death.
All over it all the time.
We had
to the point where they tell us to shut up.
Yeah. You ready? That's all right. We're not worried about that. In the Eagles playoff game, a chain broke. They brought the backup chain out, and it was tangled.
Right.
Every one of us watching said, "Oh, we've been there."
Right.
Like our phone chargers tangled.
Right.
Because you know what we knew? We knew it was going to take 30 seconds.
Yeah. Well, but it's all for that drama of pulling that stick.
I get it.
You got to pull that stick.
I get it. So I want to come up with the chain that can't tangle.
Yeah, please.
Yeah.
Like
let's
the
that.
fire, the hose that can't tangle.
Right.
Like, we
they
can
should
do
be able to do that. You're right. We got enough money in the league. I think we can
go all day. One last thing though, I keep seeing that ring hit. You're out of balance. You're out of balance though.
Boom.
Is the only week.
I know, but you need another one now.
Oh, we definitely need to.
Did you know that there's no coach who's won a Super Bowl with 2 different teams? Are you aware of that?
I am aware of that. That's the plan, Mike.
Man, it's a beauty. I really love this ring. You guys did a great job with this one.
Well, the Florida Lee has been on jewelry long before Super Bowl rings.
Right.
And then when Mrs. Benson's involved and it's Tiffany.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
That's a win. That's a win-win right there.
She's the best.
Right.
Does it feel like it's been 13 years?
No, it feels like it's probably been 7 or 8. But it feels long enough away where – here's the one thing about this game. And we got close. We had the championship game with the no call and everything. But on that staff was Mike Westhoff and a bunch of other players. And as we get older, you enjoy giving gifts more than receiving. You know what I mean? Like, you ever have a surprise you can't wait?
I'm at that age, the first time in my life, where I can't wait to give my family and kids.
Where do you see this?
Right.
Where do you see this?
Right.
Or where do you eat at this restaurant? Or where do you watch this movie? And so that lead in to the Super Bowl is like, you guys will never believe what this game. Whatever you think it's like, it's 100,000 times better.
Yeah.
And so part of that exists. Like yourself, you know it. But to show others, like, and watch their reaction, like what I tell you.
Yeah.
Like, you're not going to remember the first 5 minutes of this game at all.
Right. You're going to be hyperventilating.
Bill said, hey, make sure you're calling just base stuff because they're not going to know anything for 5 minutes.
Right.
And so that's the kind of thing that you look forward to, kind of sharing.
Yeah, sharing that, seeing them get that experience.
Well, it's awesome. Thanks to Zebra Technologies for giving us Sean Payton today, with also the unexpected plug for Waking Ned Divine, which
he's killing
not available
today.
in theaters, but I'm sure you can find it streaming somewhere.
Today.
I would say if you choose to watch it, I would suggest subtitles.
Yeah, it's hard to get that accent.
Oh my gosh!
Right.
All right, all the best to you. It's great to have you back in the game. Great to have you back in the league, and we wish you all the best with the Denver Broncos.
Appreciate you guys.
Hi, it's Mike Florio. Thanks for watching PFT on YouTube. Hit subscribe for the latest news and analysis from Pro Football Talk.